Recording. Take 75,251. Why is my camera microphone in the way? God, this bass is falling off. G'day boys and girls. Welcome back to the channel. My name's Brennan. And this is, does the Metalzone really suck? Or is it just you? Let's find out. Stick around. What we have is the Metalzone MT2. Everybody knows this one. I don't need to do any preamble or any of that bollocks. You know what it is. You know what it sounds like. What I aim to show here today is how I use this pedal to try and make it sound better than its reputation has. Okay, because it can do it. I know it can do it. I've been playing around with it for a while now, and yeah, it's a lot better than people actually think. All right, let's go through those controls. The treble and the bass control in the middle left. Middle right is all your mid-range controls, which in my opinion is where all the problems start. Okay, and can be solved as well. Right, so what I try to do first is I just leave the bass controls and the treble control alone for the moment. Right, that's a kind of a final polishing goes on that one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through these mid-ranges. All right, so and how I try and let me preface this. What I'm trying to do is create a sound with this pedal so that it runs straight into the preamp, into the front of the amp, not through the power amp section or anything like that, or the send and return loop of any other amps. It sounds great through a send and return, but that's not my aim. I want it to sound and function like a normal everyday pedal, right? I don't want the rest of my tone and stuff going through a send and return loop. So what I have set up at the moment is guitar, Ibanez RG560, an old 1980, 90, early 90s, late 80s model. I have had this thing forever, and she is the bomb. This thing is fantastic. Fender FM65R, solid state guitar amplifier. Tone controls are on 5, middle of the road settings, and the volume's down really low, because it's a very loud amplifier for a 65 watt solid state amplifier. It blows me away how loud this thing is. Okay, let's get into the pedal sounds. Alright, oh yeah, another thing too. Guitar plugged into the Metalzone, which is on my desk, and then the Metalzone is plugged straight into the front of the guitar amp. You see the pedal board down here on the floor? That's not being used. Alright, here we go. So let's quickly run through these pedals. The tone control. This is the bass tone sound. Sounds alright for a bedroom tone. Okay, if you use that on stage, don't be surprised if you don't hear yourself. Let's go through the bass controls. The bass, which is the outer control on the left here. It's meaty. Bass cut. Good for if you've got a bass heavy amp or already. Don't forget to control that bottom end. And there's the trebles. Oh, that's so bright when you do that. Ooh. I like the sound of this when the treble is controlled, highs. Okay, but we'll get back to that. Alright, mid-range frequency controls. This is where you can solve the problem or create even more problems. Okay, they're very wide-ranging, but from 200 to 5K, that's quite a fair way. Let's see what this tone control can do, this mid-range control does. First off, let's set the mid-range frequency to 500. No, it's not 500. 200. 200. All right, very scoopy. Back to middle. Oy. So you can see that's quite raspy as it gets higher as well. that will sound different from amp to amp. Alright, I gotta preface this as well. It doesn't matter what it sounds on the recording, right? That's for another day. I want this thing to sound good with that thing. That's what tone is all about. Alright, let's keep going. Mid-range. We'll bring the mid-range down to 200. And we're going to play around with the volume control, which is the middle setting. Ooh, there's your bedroom tone, more bedroom tone. Absolutely no weight to that whatsoever. There's like no oomph. Oh, I can add oomph if I wanted to put some bass in there. But that sounds freaking rotten. Okay, so what we're going to do now is turn up the mid-range frequency, see what it sounds like as we go through it. Set at 200. You can hear that mid-range starting to come through there. Way more control than if I had the frequency, the frequency up here. Now it gets very boxy, which, to be quite honest, that's not too bad. In the room, that is. I don't know what it sounds like on the recording, but we'll find out later. All right. Not too bad, still a bit boxy though. So what I do now is I tweak around with the frequency until I get that to sound the way I want it to sound. Now, through here, okay, I don't care about that or what it sounds like on a recording. I want to hear what it sounds like on the amp. Ooh. That's bright as hell. If I turn down the high control. That's not too bad, bit of bass. Still bloody raspy as hell. Tinny as. Right, let's go back to normal. Oh, God, that's terrible. Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap these around. So this time I'm going to go mid-range frequency, mid-range amount all the way down, all the way, and the mid-range frequency all the way up. I'm going to invert those. Ooh, boxy as there. So what we got here, that is mid-range frequency of 200, and the middle frequencies cranked right up. Compare that with regular. Alright, crank that, bring that right down. Big volume drop. Invert them. Okay. That sounds alright too. Still very boxy. Now, to alleviate some of the boxiness, just play around with the volume of the mid-range. So that sounds not too bad. I'm going to try and give some bottom end as well. That's more like it. Now we're starting to get somewhere. Sounds much better. Control some of these highs, I think. monstrous. A bit more volume, see what that sounds like. Oh yeah. That sounds great. That's in here, that sounds awesome. Now just tweak around with some settings just to play around with the balance of the top end and the bottom end, right? For what I'm hearing out of the amp by itself is workable. Let's put it that way. That's a bit too boxy. More like a presence than anything. That sounds pretty awesome to me. I think with some maybe if I played around with the well, you can't really see it, but there's an EQ pedal just to tweak certain frequencies. That sounds pretty good. By itself, that's the aim. Make this pedal sound good by itself. It's possible. I don't understand why people can't seem to get that to sound good. I've seen many a video, and I'm listening to people going, playing this, thinking it sounded good. I'm going, that sounds terrible. What are you doing? It doesn't fit with whatever it is you're trying to do. This is a really good pedal that's got a lot of potential uses beyond metal, obviously. If I bring that distortion down, so let's go right down and see what it sounds like. Let's try that again. Some more volume. Let's be tweaking. Boxiness there. Switch it around, see what it sounds like. That's what I find just with this control, so just invert them. Now this all depends on you and your ear, your amp, the guitar you're using, the room you're in, whether you're using in-ear monitoring or headphones or just straight out of the amp. This is all going to vary, but it is easy to get a good tone out of this thing. You just got to play around with it rather than just going, oh, it's just scoop, I'll just leave the scoop in. No, don't leave the scoop in. That sounds awful. Ew. There's an example. Flip that around. Mixing boxiness, I find, is, or any kind of, whether it's mid-range or bass or treble, start in the middle, or whatever unity gain it is, right? Start to turn it down, right? You keep turning it down until you hear a vast change in the frequencies. The response of your amp is not that great when you pull it too far back. Once you get it to a certain point and you can feel it, back it off a little bit. By about what? So if you, let's say for instance, you go from 5 to say 3 and you start to notice a big difference, take it back to about 3.5, 3.5, no more than 4, and that's a good setting, a good sort of roll off of your frequency on the amp or a pedal as well. So that's what I'm trying to do right now, is trying to find that frequency where it doesn't pull too far and doesn't sound too flabby. It's a compromise, obviously. That bass control is really good, don't you? It's just almost the right frequency. Sensitive control, because the sweep is quite a fair amount of, like 200 hertz to 5k is a fair way. There you go. I think that in this room, that sounds great. I don't know what it sounds like on the recording. We will find out. I can only envisage it will sound okay, but then again, the recording medium is different to the live playing medium, okay, with your band, all right? That's how I tweak around this with the settings on the Metalzone to try and get it to sound less scoopy. What I'm going to do, actually, is I have on this, one of my, here we go, what's the EQ show? Okay. Between 800 and 2K is probably a little low. So, using span on Reaper. You can't see it, but it's there. That sounds pretty good too. A bit bright. Now, that's a bit more noticeably boxier. There's a frequency in there that I'm not liking. Now, to most of you, that probably sounded a little bit too boxy, and it does, because I'm looking at the EQ on the screen and that microphone is hearing, and then tweaking it. So I'm getting what I see on this. I'm getting a sound in the room that sounds like this, what I'm seeing on the screen. That's not the best way to come up with your tone. The best way to come up with your tone, if you're trying to get a tone from an amp, is to use these. That's what they're there for, all right? What does that do to this to make these play a certain way? If that makes these play like what you don't want it to do, then you're not doing something right. You need to work on that. So that sound looks great on the EQ there, too boxy. All right? Oh, that's even more boxier. Wouldn't say it's boxy. I can't describe the what I'm hearing there in that last lot. It's probably about there is where you're finding the boxy frequencies there. Ooh, I like that. I think that will do for now. This is only part one. Reason I'm doing only part one because I want to do with this. What does this sound like using another guitar? Well, I've got a couple to try out. Cheap Fender and another cheap brand called Artist, which most of you probably have never heard of before. But that's the way I play around with the Metalzone, just to try and get it to sound better than its default setting sounds. Which everyone goes for, that scoopy kind of mid-range. The scoop is fine. If you like it, fine. Use it that way. But like I said, I want this to work with the amp, but the pedal by itself work as its own solo unit. And it's workable. You can do it. There is another way which I do this, and that's run the Metalzone, or not just the Metalzone, any distortion pedal. I run a distortion pedal into an overdrive pedal. And I gain stage the two so that one sounds fairly good by itself, but when you put it into the overdrive pedal reacts with the overdrive or the distortion coming in. This Metalzone into a standard overdrive pedal, the one I'm using down there, one of my own handmade ones, it's just a heavily modified tube screamer type Boss SD1 kind of vibe to it, with options, all that sort of stuff. But this Metalzone into that overdrive is, it is beautiful. Same with the DS1. I'm currently using a DS1 on the board into my own overdrive, and it sounds fantastic coming out of any amp, whether it's my Fender or it's my Marshall over here. The orange takes. I got an orange. Where are you? Can't really see it, but over there somewhere there's an orange Jewel Terror. That takes some work because it's a heavily mid-rangey amp. I should do a demonstration with the Metalzone and the orange, see what that sounds like. That's at a later date. Alright, I think I've waffled on enough about this pedal, but I think that if you're having troubles getting it to sound good, you need to play around with these tone controls, particularly the mid-range, and find a nice balance. Play around with the boxiness, like what you see here at the moment. This is kind of the boxy territory for the frequencies, and just make it exceptionally boxy to lift that mid-range, and then start to drop it back until it starts to you can hear a scoop, and then bring it back. So you bring it up to maximum, drop it back, keep dropping, drop till it starts to be noticeable, and then bring it back up slowly. Don't rush it. Bring it up until you just start to notice a little bit of that boxiness. Once you hit that, that's about as far as you need to go, right? And then just, if you want to tweak the frequency, go for it. Try a different frequency, bring it up to a little bit more higher frequencies. Do the same thing. Even try the reverse method, which is like cutting higher frequencies. Say you have your high frequencies, your low frequencies, the lower mid-range and the higher mid-range. So you increase the higher mid-range, and you can cut it or boost it. Also, remember to tweak your volume control. It's very important because these have such a vast effect on the overall volume coming out of this pedal. Remember, your EQ is also, your level is also an EQ. It affects what you hear. All right, that has to be balanced. Okay, that's the end of that rant. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I will see you again next time. Have fun.